As you know, you can change what the camera is viewing by transforming the camera node or its target if it has one. But this is the most basic way to compose a scene. There are many tools that are available when you activate the camera viewport down here, and I'd like to go through them with you. These allow you to fine-tune the composition in the camera viewport. Firstly, I'll talk about this tool, which has a hand icon. This is called Truck Camera, and basically it just allows you to move the camera left and right, up and down, and it works much like Pan does in a perspective viewport. So perhaps this is the most intuitive of the tools. You can also do that by not being in that tool and just dragging the mouse wheel. That activates Truck Camera. This tool right here is called Dolly Camera, and the term comes from the film industry. It refers to tracks that the camera is mounted on that allow the camera to slide forward and back. This tool is a flyout that contains 3 different versions. The bottommost tool is called Dolly Camera and Target. And watch what happens in the top viewport as I do this. Both the camera and the target are moving. The next tool up is Dolly Target. And as you can expect, that's just going to change the target distance. You can accomplish this same thing down here by changing the target distance numerically. The last tool here is Dolly Camera, and it moves the camera forward or backward while the target remains fixed. Watch what happens if I drag the camera beyond its target. It flips around and views the scene from the opposite side. Down here, there is a tool called PanCamera, and it's on a flyout with another tool. I'd like to talk about this one first. This is called Orbit Camera, and its symbol looks like the planet Saturn. Watch in the front viewport as I orbit the camera in the camera viewport. The camera is rotating about its own target. So the position of that target is important. If I change the target distance and orbit the camera will be rotating about a different center of rotation. If I bring that target distance in much closer to the camera, then I have the ability to rotate like this. I'll just truck the camera down a bit by dragging the mouse wheel. The tool under this is called PanCamera, and it is used to rotate the camera as if it was on a tripod. Notice that I'm able to rotate this camera even though it is a target camera. So this is basically the same as rotating the camera object if it was a free camera. This tool allows you to roll the camera about the camera target axis, and it's not used very often except in special effects type of renderings. Up at the top of this rollout, notice that there are 2 parameters here, lens and field of view. These are inversely related parameters. And to see this better, I think I'm going to increase the target distance so that you can see the cone here better in the top viewport. The lens is an analogy to a physical camera, And a typical lens of a point and shoot camera is simulating about 50 millimeters. If I change this and make it smaller, the field of view will get larger. As I do that, I'm creating a wide angle shot, and that term refers to a large field of view. That's an angular measurement that represents this cone. Down here we have an area that allows us to choose stock lenses very quickly. Just click on 24 and that puts this value into the lens parameter. This is a good lens for an interior because it captures much more of the space. If you use, say, a 135 millimeter lens, that's a telephoto lens, and it's going to have a very narrow field of view. So it's going to focus tightly on a small area of the scene. And telephoto lenses have the quality that they tend to flatten everything out and make it appear not very spatial. Wide-angle lenses have the quality that they make it seem like there's more space in the room. Now I'd like to dolly the camera and target forward to get closer to these pieces of furniture. This tool allows you to alter the field of view interactively in the camera viewport. More telephoto or more wide angle. But notice that we no longer have an integer number here. This tool allows you to change the field of view while you're changing the camera target distance. And it has a very interesting effect. If I drag the perspective tool up, watch what happens in the top viewport. The camera is getting closer to its target while the field of view is changing. This tends to make the scene look like there's more space there, and it brings the things in the foreground a little closer. If I drag down in the viewport, it will tend to flatten out the room a little more and make things recede a bit. So you can use the perspective tool to fine-tune the spatial sense that you have in a room. So use these navigation tools to fine-tune your composition and get it just the way that you want. Once you have it perfected, you can just switch out of the viewport and create another camera, or just go into perspective and keep modeling. The camera will remain exactly where you left it in the future, so that you can just jump into that camera and make a rendering.